So the basics of APA, it dictates the formatting of your title page and the formatting of your header. We're going to call that the formatting section. It also dictates the in-text citations you make, so those are the citations within the actual text of your paper. And then it also dictates how your reference page will look. So that's the big list of sources that goes at the end of your paper. So we're going to start with the formatting section and specifically the title page. So I put this in a chart form, so if you guys would like to take pictures or anything, and then at the end of this, I'm actually going to give you access to this presentation just in case you need to pull it up, like when you're writing a paper or something like that. But so as you can see, we're going to start with a running head. So this is really silly, but this is something I'm going to point out at the very beginning because this is something that students often miss. So the way that this is capitalized is actually not a mistake. For some reason, APA prefers that the word head in your running head not be capitalized. And so we know that there are actually some professors who look out for that and like following APA guidelines, so we just want to make sure and draw some attention to that. So your running head is an abbreviated title. It should go in your header section, just like a normal MLA header or something like that. And it should be in all capital letters. So that's another thing that students sometimes forget. Your running head should be in all capital letters. It should be aligned to the left over here, and then it should be less than 50 characters. So I want to draw attention to characters because that includes any spaces or punctuation that you might have in your title. So it cannot be more than 50 characters. And then after the title page, you should keep your header, but you should drop the phrase running head. So we'll actually take a look at an example of a running head or of a title page in just a second, and I'll point out just a little bit more about that. Then we're going to look at the page number. So this should start on your title page. It should be in the same header area as your running head, but it should be aligned to the right. So your title page should be page 1. Then you have your paper title. This should be centered in the upper half of your title page. The first and other important words should be capitalized. So this is a little bit different for APA, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the other section. But as far as your title for your paper, the first word and the important word should remain capitalized. Right under that should be your name. So your name should go below, and it should be centered and double-spaced. Below that should be your university name. So obviously University of South Alabama would go directly below your name. And then any additional information, so like if your professor wants their name or if they want the course title or something like that, then you'll start putting that under your university name and it'll go the same way, centered and double-spaced. Okay, so now we're actually going to take a look at an example. Again, I realize that it's hard to see. I apologize for the difference with Google Slides and PowerPoint. That's why I stick to the original, but you know. So this is your running head. So as you can see, if you squint really hard up here, it's the capital R and then the lowercase head. And this is what's going to be on your title page. Now, when you move on to the first page of your actual paper, you're going to drop running head. And it's just going to be that all capitalized title, the abbreviated title, because remember, it's not more than 50 characters. Over here, we have our page number. Down here, we have the paper title. So this is something about Ray Bradbury, but if you're doing something else, it could be like a policy analysis for nursing or a company analysis for MCOP, something like that. Then you're going to have your name, and then you're going to have your university name. Can everybody see that? Does anybody have any questions about the title page formatting specifically? Awesome. If I'm talking too fast, please feel free to interrupt with questions or tell me to slow down. That's okay too. So then we're going to look at your in-text citation options. So I know that this is a lot of writing, but some of it is examples. So for the first, you can place the citation at the end of the sentence. So when we are paraphrasing, for example, this says, grass is green and grows from the ground through complex root systems. And so we're going to say that we got that information from Smith 2014. So when you are getting information from another source, it has to be cited. Even though there's not a direct quote anywhere in this, I'm still going to cite where I got that information from. Obviously, we all know that grass is green. So in a real paper, you wouldn't cite that. But if we're doing a nursing paper and you're telling me about the side effects of a drug, or you're telling me about the comorbidities that come along with obesity or something like that, then you're going to cite that information because I'm not just going to know that. That's not casual information, right? So basically, with citing, you're going to draw that difference between something that everybody might know, like 1776 was when America, the Revolution, all that good stuff, but somebody may not know the comorbidities of obesity or something like that. So you're going to want to cite that information that is not general knowledge. If you mention the author in the sentence, you should immediately follow with the publication date in parentheses. So this one says, according to Williams, 2013, the sky is blue because it reflects the light from the ocean. So if you are going to do an according to or in the article, it stated, if you mention that author, you always want to put that publication date with it. If you use a direct quote, try to put a page number if possible. So this is something that a lot of students forget with APA because APA doesn't necessarily make a huge deal about it, but it is something that we want to include in if possible. And this is what it's going to look like. So in her article, Pickens, 2017, because we learned that right up there, states that the USA Writing Center is awesome and helpful. And so then, I don't have that period right there. I have this period at the end of this parenthetical statement where it says page 12. So that's letting somebody know directly where they can find that quote. And then that last bullet point is again just talking about any time that you use information that you got from a source, it must be cited, even if it's not a direct quote. If you did not already initially know that information, or maybe you did, but your general public isn't going to know it, it has to be cited. Otherwise, it's plagiarism. And unfortunately, accidental plagiarism and purposeful plagiarism can often have the exact same results. So these are what they're going to look like. So this is a very basic in-text citation. So it just says Smith, comma, 2012. So you're going to put that last name, and then you're going to put the year that it was published. But let's say that we have two authors. So over here we have Smith and Green, 2016. So what we want to point our attention to is this right here, that ampersand. So that is actually required in APA. APA does not want you to use the word and in a citation. They prefer that you use the symbol. So then we have 3 to 5. But if you'll notice right here, I say first mention. So that's because the first time you mention this source, if there are 3 to 5 authors, you're going to write every single one of them out. So right here we have Smith, Green, and Hunt. They published in 2014. So that, the first time, that's how you're going to do that citation. But let's say it's now the second, or the third, or the fourth, or just any time that's not the first. You can use this fun little tool called et al., which means that we know that you're talking about Green and Hunt, but you don't have to type all that out. So if it's 3 to 5 authors on that second, third, fourth plus mention, you can use the et al. Function. And so another little thing that I'm just going to point out to you, because this is a pet peeve that I also didn't know until just a few months ago. With et al., the only place that the period is after al. You're going to put a period, and then you're still going to put that comma, right? Because that comma has to come before the year of publication. And then we have 6 or more. So APA is like, okay, I get it. Some of these articles got a lot of authors, that's a lot of names to put down. If there are 6 or more authors, the first time you mention it, and any time after that, you get to use the et al. Function. So, earlier we said, oh, there's only 3 to 5, we're going to write them all out. But if you have 6 or more, you can immediately use the et al. Function, and it shows it right down here. Does anybody have any questions on in-text citations or their formatting? Awesome. So now we're going to look at the reference page. So there are 4 primary pieces of an APA citation. You're going to have the author of your content. You're going to have the publication date right after that. You're going to have the title of your content. And then you're going to have the publication information following that. So I've actually put an example of an APA source over here, or reference, and we're just going to take a look at it real quick. So if we look at these authors, we have Smith, Green, and Pickens. Will somebody tell me something different that they notice about these authors' names? Please. Okay, that's okay, because we don't want an awkward silence on the video. So if you can tell, these are just initials. We're not writing anyone's name out. So in most citation styles, you're going to put Smith, Jacob Thomas, right? We're not going to do that with APA. APA is like, no, that's okay. We're just going to stick with those initials instead. We also want to point out that even though a word is going to put that like blue squiggly and tell us this is wrong, it's not wrong to have the period that comes after the first letter of the name and the second letter, and then that comma before we move on to the next name in the entry, okay? The next thing that we're going to look at is the year of publication. So as you can see, we have 2014 right here in the parenthetical, and then we have a period after that. Again, I know it looks wonky, APA likes wonky, and we give them what they want so that our professors are nice to us. So then, directly after the year of publication, we're going to come to the title. Can anybody tell me something that they notice about the title in particular, something different than we might expect?
It's lowercase.
Exactly, right. So APA does this funky thing where it asks us to put titles in sentence case when they're on our reference page. So what sentence case means is that only this first word is going to be capitalized, or only that first letter of the first word is going to be capitalized. So after that, we're going to put a period after the title, and then we're going to give the publication information. So it's hard to tell on Google Slides, but Grass, Water, and Sky Scholarly Review for Real Adults should be in italics, because that's the journal title. So we put the journal title in italics. Right after that, we have this number and then the parenthetical number next to it. So again, it's hard to tell, but this first number is also in italics, and that is our volume number. So most journals are going to have a volume number and an issue number. So that means that this one right here in the parenthetical is our issue number. And again, this volume number is italicized. This issue number is not italicized. This is something that we find commonly missed, especially on our e-tutoring. So when I'm looking over a reference page, that's one of the first things that I look for. It seems small, but like I said, APA is particular, and we give them what they want. And then finally, we have our page numbers of the article. So sometimes students think you just put the page numbers that you used, but you're really going to use the page number of the whole article, because hopefully you did in fact read the entire article before you used it as a source for your paper. So you're going to put, for example, a comprehensive review of how grass grows and why it isn't super boring was on pages 132 through 144 in this journal. And so that's why we have that there. Okay, can anybody tell me what we do in the event that one of these things is missing? Do we just say, oh, can't use that source? Hopefully not. Please don't do that, because we still can. So let's say that you don't have an author, but you do have a publication date, and you do have a title, and you do have the publication information. So what you're going to do then is you're just going to move this stuff back. So first you're going to put your title, a comprehensive review of how grass grows and why it isn't super boring. And then after that, I'm going to put my year of publication. Then I'm going to put the journal that it came from, the volume and issue number, and then the page numbers. So it is still completely possible to use a source even if you don't have one of these pieces. So if you don't have a publication date, then you're just going to put ND up here, because that means no date, or no date that you could find. Hopefully your work will have some sort of title, even if it's the title of a web page. That still counts as the title of the content that you are working with. And then if you don't have the publication information, you can put different things for that too. So you'll probably, hopefully, have like the journal that it was from, but maybe you don't know the issue number or the volume number. That's okay too. You can still cite it without those. So let's just say it didn't have an issue number, then we would just put the volume number and something like that. And then if you don't have page numbers, it's completely impossible for you to get page numbers. That's okay too. You just keep moving. Okay? Okay, and then the reference page formatting. So this is pretty similar to most of the citation formats that you're probably used to working with. So you're going to have references centered at the top of the page for APA. So you may know, like in MLA we use works cited, but in APA we use references instead. It's going to be in alphabetical order by whatever you have first. So typically that's going to be your author's last name, but if it's one of those where you don't have an author, then you're going to go by the title and the first letter or word of that. And then you're going to use a hanging indent. A lot of students kind of have trouble finding this, and I completely understand. But if you're looking at Word and you're trying to figure out how to do a hanging indent, just click on paragraph. And then you'll see it from there. It'll be easy to figure out, but that's where it's located, in that little paragraph tab. And then you're going to have 1-inch margins. So this is the norm for most. Your Word is probably default set on 1-inch margins, but you should be sure because that is what APA requires. Okay, and then some extra resources. So let's say you're writing a paper, you have a really specific question that you just really don't know the answer to, or it's not in your little guidebook or something like that. There are some online resources that you can use. Purdue OWL is really great, especially for just like a crash course in the basics. If you have like a very particular question, APA Style Blog is phenomenal. There have been questions that I was like, there's no way anyone's ever asked this question. Like, it's just really random about this one source. Like, nobody's ever asked that before. APA Style Blog, somebody had asked that and it had an answer. Then we're going to have the APA Quick Citation Guide by Penn State University Libraries. This one is also very useful. It gives you examples of what everything should look like. It goes into some of those more specific cases and actually gives you an example of how to write that. And then you can use a USA Writing Center consultant. We are all trained in the formats and citations. If we don't know the answer, we have plenty of resources at the Writing Center to work with. And if none of those have the answers, then we have our supervisors who are both experts in all things citation-y. So feel free to make an appointment with us. Does everybody know how to do that? So if you go to southalabama.edu, then you can just search for the Writing Center and it'll take you to our homepage. On there's an area where you can go to make an appointment. It's going to prompt you to make an account with us if you've never used it before. It's really simple. It's going to ask you for your phone number and your email. You don't have to give your phone number. The only reason that we ask for it is because we will send you like a little reminder if you have an appointment coming up or if you've missed an appointment or something like that. For our online students, we do have the option of e-tutoring, so that's where you have your paper written and then you send it in to us and we do what we can with it through like the Word feature, the comment feature in Word. However, we do ask that that be reserved for only online students because, I mean, you guys theoretically could come and make an appointment with us, but if they are across the bay or in another state, then they don't have that option. And also on that website where you go and it's like the create an appointment, before you click on create an appointment, it has staff bios, and so that gives you the option of choosing which consultant that you would like to work with. So like if you remember me and you're like, dude, she's not funny at all, she talks too fast, I don't ever want to have to deal with her again, that's completely fine, because we have like 20 other consultants that you can choose from. And so if you go and look at our little bios, it's going to tell you what we're best at. So for example, I'm a political science and English double major, so anything poli-sci and anything English, I gotcha. I can do research papers or rhetorical analysis. We have some BMD majors, we have a philosophy major, we have secondary education majors who are really great at lesson plans and stuff like that. So you're going to be able to find somebody that fits your personality or what it is that you're looking for, and then you can make as many appointments as you want with them. And you can make appointments as far in advance as you need. So if you get like a big paper and you know that you're going to have to come to us, go ahead and make an appointment. Then it'll be saved for you and you're not going to have to worry about the rush that comes at the end of the semester when everybody is trying to bring their final papers to the Writing Center. We do take walk-ins, but we prefer that you make an appointment because we will bend over backwards to get you in if you come as a walk-in, but we can't guarantee that there's going to be somebody there free to help you, especially as we get closer to the end of the semester. Okay, so does anybody have any questions?